Welcome in. This is Word on the Curb. I am Annette Latigue. This is where we talk about real life as it's actually happening. Because when life gets loud, we don't have to. Let me name something that's real right now. We are in what's known as silly season. It's election season. It's rumor season. It's noise season. It's everybody has an opinion. Everybody's a critic without credentials season. Everything feels louder. Everybody feels bolder. Everybody has something to say about everything. And because of that, tonight's conversation matters. For the past 2 weeks on Word on the Curve, we've been building something. First, we talked about let them be triggered, not reacting, not jumping, not managing how other people feel. Then we talked about you don't owe everyone access, not explaining your life, not filling in everybody's blanks, not giving everyone a front row seat. Tonight is the next move because once you stop reacting, and once you stop giving everyone access, you're left with something a lot of people don't know how to hold: silence. And tonight, we're talking about it. When silence is the power move. Let's clear something up right now. Silence is not weakness. We've been trained to believe that if you don't respond, you lost. If you don't clap back, you didn't have anything to say. If you don't defend yourself, you must be wrong. That sounds good online. I said it sounds good online. It doesn't hold up in real life. There's a kind of silence that isn't emptied, it's settled. It's the silence that comes when you already know what you know and you know what you don't know. It's the silence that shows up when you're not trying to convince anybody of everything. Silence looks like this: you don't rush the answer, you don't jump into every group chat, you don't chase every rumor down, you don't correct every story that gets told about you. You let things sit. Yeah, you let it sit. You let people talk. You let situations reveal themselves. And this is where tonight connects directly to the last two episodes. Let Them Be Triggered was about not reacting. You don't owe everyone access was about not explaining. Silence is what you do after you have stopped doing both. Because once you stop reacting and stop explaining, there is space. And that space can feel uncomfortable at first, especially if you've been the person who always smoothed things over, always clarified, always made things easier for everyone else. But silence gives you something back. It gives you back your time, your focus, your energy, and your clarity. Silence becomes your sanctuary, not a place you hide, a place you reset, a place where you can hear your own thoughts again instead of everybody else's commentary, a place where you can think without pressure, a place where you don't have to perform confidence. You can just be confident. And silence becomes your strength, not because you're trying to look mysterious and not because you're trying to control the room, because you're grounded. You're not leaking information. You're not leaking emotion. You're not leaking plans. You're steady. Here's what silly season teaches you real fast: people talk loud when they don't have access, they speculate when they don't know. They build stories when you stop filling in the details. And instead of rushing to shut it down, silence lets you see who people really are when they don't have control of the narrative. That's right, when they don't have control of the narrative. And that's powerful because you get to see them. Silence also changes how you move. You stop announcing your next step. You stop explaining decisions while you're still deciding. You stop sharing plans before you have roots. You let your results speak for you. And yes, that can make some people uncomfortable, not because you changed into somebody else, because they were used to having front row access to your thinking. Silence teaches you something else too. Who can sit with you without needing constant reassurance? Who doesn't pressure you to speak just because they're uncomfortable with quiet? Who respects your pause? Who doesn't rush you to explain yourself? Pay attention to that. Some people only feel close to you when you're explaining your life. Some people only feel safe when you're oversharing. Some people only feel positioned when they know what you're about to do next. Silence rearranges all of that. When silence becomes your sanctuary, you stop explaining your healing. You stop performing your peace. You stop narrating your growth. You stop making your boundaries sound polite. You realize something very simple: not everyone deserves your voice, not everyone deserves your energy, not everyone deserves your reaction, not everyone deserves your access. That is through line that is the through line of this entire series. It's the through line. It's what it's all about. Let them be triggered. You don't owe everybody access. And now, when silence is the power move, silence lets you move strategically. It lets you watch patterns instead of personalities. It lets you see how people behave when you're not managing the room. It lets you see who respects you without having to remind them. Silence also protects you from being pulled into every moment that isn't yours. Not every issue deserves your opinion. Not every disagreement deserves your time. Not every misunderstanding deserves a correction. Not every comment deserves a response. And in silly season, especially, that discipline matters because noise is being manufactured, outrage is being stirred, opinions are being amplified, and clarity gets drowned out when you feel like you have to respond to everything. Silence protects your clarity. Silence protects your nervous system. We all have a nervous system. Don't get it twisted. Silence protects your future. And let me say something plainly: silence does not make you invisible, it makes you intentional. Some of the strongest people in the room are quiet on purpose. They don't chase attention, they don't chase arguments, they don't chase validation. They move when it's time to move. And if you're in a season where you're quieter than you used to be, less reactive than you used to be, less available than you used to be, you're not disappearing, you're repositioning. You're choosing peace over performance. You're choosing depth over noise. You're choosing direction over distraction. And that is not weakness, that is power. And here's what I want you to take with you tonight: you do not have to explain your silence, you do not have to justify your pause, you do not have to announce your next move. When silence becomes your sanctuary, it becomes your strength. And when silence becomes your strength, it becomes your strategy. This is Word on the Curb. When life gets loud, we don't have to. Less reacting and more living. Good night. See you next week.